Can we expect to see Gleyber Torres in the Bronx on opening day? And if so, what position will he play?
All right, Flash, what do you think?
Well, I think Ray nailed the question.
Boom.
Great job,
Got
Ray.
that right.
I think we're going to see Torres at some point, obviously, during this year. I mean, the Yankees have talked so much about him. He's going to be a big part of their future. I don't think we're going to see him on opening day, though. I think there's going to be part of the arbitration process. Keep him in the minor leagues for a little bit, let him get a few more at-bats, and then we'll see him at some point during the year.
Yeah, I think John is right. You have to factor in that if he spends about 3 weeks in the minor leagues, that buys the Yankees another year because his service time clock won't start. And the other thing about that is he had about 100 plate appearances at AAA before he incurred that arm injury. He is coming, and he is coming fast to the major leagues, but I do think the Yankees might want to pump the brakes a little.
Starting the clock is definitely a factor. However, a lot can happen from now until then. You don't know what's going to happen in spring training as far as injuries are concerned. And the offseason isn't over yet, guys, so you don't know if they're going to acquire someone else in that infield. I think ideally they'd like to start him in the minors and not start that clock, but there is a chance you could see Gleyber Torres opening day.
All right, let's get to our second question. Why don't you just tell us what various social media sites you have going there, Billy? What do you got?
Hi, my name is Billy Pinkney from Little Falls, New Jersey, and my question is, do you think this young Yankees team can handle the expectations the fans have for them in 2018?
All right, Jack, you go ahead. The last show, you pumped up Billy the Bat Boy. You didn't give your website, your blog.
Yes, I have a website where I interview players, mainly baseball players, some football players. It's called BillyTheBatBoysCorner.com. I'm a bat boy with the New Jersey Jackals, so that's where I got the name from. And for the past 2.5 years, I've been interviewing athletes.
You're supposed to drop the mic now, Billy. After you do it, you just drop the mic. But to Billy's question about the Yankees and the expectations, I absolutely think that this bunch can handle it because Meredith and John and Bob, we can all speak to this. If you were around this team last year, you saw how excited this team was, how much fun they had, and how they expected to succeed. I think those expectations have risen. I think you throw a Stanton into the mix and you take Bird for an entire season. Sanchez is going to be better. We're going to see what Judge can do post 52 home runs. We've already mentioned Torres. He's going to be in the mix. So, Billy, I absolutely believe this team can handle it.
You talk about the expectations and the fan expectations, but I think the expectations have risen in that clubhouse as well. They were so close last year, they could practically taste a trip to the World Series. And you have to remember about this team, not a lot of guys have been there before, and that is a driving factor. Even going back a couple years, talking to some of the guys that were coming up, like an Aaron Judge, they said not only do we want to win at the major league level, but we want to do it together, and them doing it as a unit is a big deal to them.
You know, one of the great things that we're going to be able to follow about this team is all Yankee teams have expectations to go to the World Series, but you have to be honest, last year there were very few expectations, and they over-exceeded what they were expected to do. Now you come into spring training with that bullseye on your back, and I know speaking from a player's perspective, it is a lot tougher when you know you're going to get the best from your opponent every night. It's going to be fun to watch to see how this young team is going to react.
All right, guys, Billy, great job. Question number 3.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Popovich from Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, and my question is, what are the chances of the Yankees landing Manny Machado by the 2018 trade deadline?
All right, Meredith, what do you think? I mean, obviously, it doesn't seem like he's really in play right now, so maybe the O's look for another avenue. Maybe they wait till July 31st.
It's going to be interesting, and Brian Cashman will certainly stay engaged and keep his finger on the pulse when it comes to Manny Machado. Do I think he's going to land with the Yankees? I don't think so, because the Yankees are just going to have to give up too much. And what have they talked about the last 2-3 years? They want to keep that farm system strong. Now, if they're at a place at the deadline where they could feel like they're getting him at a reasonable rate and that's what's going to push them over the edge to win a World Series, well, then maybe Brian Cashman would think about that a little bit.
I don't think the Yankees want to pay twice for Manny Machado. And to Meredith's point, this is a guy who's going to be a free agent after the 2018 season. We know he's going to make a ton of money. Will the Yankees be in play for him? Absolutely. But to get him now, you're going to have to give up a nice package of prospects. And as Meredith said, you have the luxury tax threshold. The Yankees are coveting more of their younger players now. I don't see them opening up the door to the Orioles to make that kind of move. I spoke to someone from the Orioles organization not too long ago who was not even putting it at 50-50 that he thought Machado would be moved.
You know, the great part about the Yankees now is you have prospects that can fill some of these positions, right? Andujar is a guy that maybe will get some play this year. I think if you're Brian Cashman in the front office, you pay attention to his development. And then maybe there isn't this urgency where we have to go out and get Manny Machado. I think that's a great part of the Yankee organization now. They're in the driver's seat. They can wait back until they have to make these moves.
All right, question number 4. Good to have you with us.
Heidi Raifenberg from Montclair, New Jersey. What adjustments does Gary Sanchez have to make?
Let's go to the catcher for that one.
Well, Heidi, I think, first of all, it's, you know, he's got to do a better job behind the plate, catching the ball. The pass balls were a big problem last year. He did a better job at the end of the year blocking the baseball in the dirt. But I've said this all year long last year. I'll say it again this year. If you want to be at the top of your game defensively, it's an effort situation for Gary Sanchez. You have to want to be as good behind the plate as he is when he's standing next to it and hitting.
I think he needs to think less. And by that, I mean, I think he got ahead of himself and was thinking so much about, I'm going to try and frame this pitch. What am I going to do with this pitch? Chapman is throwing something on the outside corner. Am I going to have to curl my glove and try? Just play the game. If you go back to when this guy came up, he was a defensive weapon back there. He's throwing bullets to second base. No one wanted to run on him. I think he got in his own way a little bit last year, Meredith.
Receiving and blocking balls, as you said, Flash, and getting in his own way. You could tell when you spoke to him after the game in the clubhouse. He felt it. He knew there was a lot of pressure on. People were noticing. And when Joe Girardi pulled him that time, he was a little bit embarrassed, and it kind of lit a flame under him. And you mentioned the last time he came up, the way he was a defensive juggernaut almost. Also, he wasn't throwing as accurately last year. He was a little bit heavier. He's worked on that in the offseason. Curious to see exactly what he comes into camp as this time.
By the way, we should balance the scales. We answered the question about adjustments. We should also throw on the offensive side. This guy is a budding MVP candidate. 30-plus home runs. The power is there. He's a menace in the middle of that lineup. Tidy up some of that defensive stuff, and this guy could win an MVP.
All right, let's get to our 5th and final question.
Hi, I'm Mike from Verona, New Jersey. My question is, what is the likelihood that Chance Adams and/or Justice Sheffield crack the rotation this year?
All right, Jack, what do you think?
I think that they need an injury for Chance Adams to have his shot, and I think Sheffield is a level below him. Sheffield is still a guy who I think they wanted to get him to AAA and prove himself. I thought it was interesting last year that as Chance Adams was putting up all these numbers, the Yankees were still waiting. And the fact that they were waiting is telling me that there was something that he was lacking. Doesn't mean that he can't get to that point. It meant that their scouts who watch this guy closer than anyone else does were waiting for something. I think it might have been the changeup, refining that third pitch. But Chance Adams will get a shot. I just don't know right now, the way the Yankees are set up, that coming out of spring training, we're going to see him in the rotation.
The changeup and command at times in talking to people in the minor leagues were some issues with Chance Adams. He still did have a very nice minor league season, but you mentioned those 2 games, and if you're a Yankees fan, you should be excited right now because it's not just those 2 pitchers. There are a lot of other guys in the pipeline that could potentially help this team in 2018.
You know, the thing about Chance Adams, he wins everywhere he's been, right? And there's always a saying when you're a player in the minor leagues, you force the organization to make a decision. Chance Adams goes back to AAA and starts winning some games right away like he always does. He's going to get a chance in the big leagues.
Yeah, he was 11-5 last year.